If you or someone you love has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, one of the biggest concerns beyond health is understanding your legal and workplace rights. Mesothelioma is a rare but aggressive form of cancer that is almost always caused by exposure to asbestos. For decades, millions of workers in industries like construction, shipbuilding, manufacturing, and automotive repair were unknowingly exposed to asbestos fibers on the job. These exposures often occurred without proper protective equipment or adequate warnings from employers or product manufacturers. Now, years later, workers and their families are facing the devastating consequences of those exposures. That's why it's so important to know what rights you have as a mesothelioma patient in the workplace. Let's begin by looking at workplace safety laws. In the United States, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, requires employers to provide a safe work environment. That includes keeping workplaces free from known hazards like asbestos. Employers are supposed to monitor asbestos levels, inform workers if they are at risk, and provide safety equipment and training to minimize exposure. If a worker later develops mesothelioma, an OSHA violation might not directly result in compensation, but the record of employer negligence can strengthen legal claims. Next, let's talk about workers' compensation. Almost every state requires employers to carry workers' compensation insurance. This system is designed to provide support when a worker is injured or becomes ill on the job. For mesothelioma patients, this may include coverage of medical expenses, wage replacement for time missed from work, disability payments if the illness prevents continued employment, and even death benefits for surviving family members if the worker passes away. It's important to remember that mesothelioma often develops decades after exposure, but that doesn't always prevent workers from filing claims. Each state has different deadlines, so consulting a lawyer who specializes in asbestos cases is crucial. In addition to workers' compensation, mesothelioma patients may also have the right to file lawsuits. While workers' comp usually prevents direct lawsuits against an employer, there are other responsible parties who may be held accountable. This can include asbestos product manufacturers who knowingly sold dangerous materials without adequate warnings, or third-party contractors whose negligence led to exposure. Filing a lawsuit may allow patients and families to recover much larger compensation, including money for medical care, lost income, and pain and suffering. Many families have successfully pursued such lawsuits, especially when strong evidence links asbestos exposure to a company's product or worksite. Another major right for mesothelioma patients is access to disability benefits. Because this disease is so aggressive and often prevents patients from continuing to work, disability assistance is critical. Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI, is available to those who cannot work due to serious illness. Mesothelioma is on the Social Security Administration's Compassionate Allowances list, which means applications are processed quickly and approvals are often granted faster than for other conditions. In addition, some states offer their own disability support programs. And for military veterans, asbestos exposure that occurred during service can make patients eligible for veterans benefits, including health care and disability compensation through the Department of Veterans Affairs. Another area of protection is workplace discrimination. Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, mesothelioma patients have the right to reasonable accommodations in the workplace. This might include modified schedules, the option to work from home, or extended medical leave. Employers are legally prohibited from firing or discriminating against employees simply because of their diagnosis. They are required to engage in an interactive process with the worker to figure out reasonable ways to help them continue working if possible. This ensures that employees facing mesothelioma are not unfairly pushed out of their jobs. In addition to disability protections, workers also have rights under the Family and Medical Leave Act, or FMLA. This law provides up to 12 weeks of job-protected leave each year for serious health conditions. During this time, the employee's job is secured and health insurance coverage continues. While the leave is unpaid, it gives patients time to undergo surgery, chemotherapy, or other treatments without fear of losing employment. Some states and private employers even provide paid medical leave, which can help relieve financial stress during treatment. Another important resource for mesothelioma patients is asbestos trust funds. Many companies that manufactured asbestos products filed for bankruptcy because of the massive number of lawsuits against them. As a condition of bankruptcy, they were required to establish trust funds to compensate current and future victims of asbestos exposure. Today, there are billions of dollars available in these trusts. Patients and their families can file claims directly with the trusts without going to court. This compensation can help cover medical expenses, lost wages, and even funeral costs in the event of death. Union and advocacy support is another resource that patients should not overlook. Many labor unions offer legal assistance, healthcare resources, and workplace advocacy for members who develop occupational diseases. Additionally, non-profit organizations dedicated to mesothelioma and asbestos awareness provide free information, patient support, and help with navigating claims. Reaching out to these organizations can make a difficult process easier and ensure that patients are not alone. Families of mesothelioma patients also have rights. If a patient passes away, family members may be able to file wrongful death claims against the responsible companies. Surviving spouses and children may also be eligible for workers' compensation survivor benefits. In some cases, family members who were exposed secondhand, such as by washing asbestos-contaminated clothing, may even be eligible for compensation if they later develop mesothelioma themselves. All of these protections and benefits exist because mesothelioma is not just a health issue, it is a workplace justice issue. Workers were often exposed to asbestos without proper warnings or protections, even though companies knew about the dangers. Patients and families should never feel guilty or hesitant about asserting their rights. The financial costs of mesothelioma are extremely high, and the emotional toll is devastating. Compensation and workplace rights help provide stability, cover treatment expenses, and hold negligent parties accountable. So, if you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, here are some practical steps to take. First, talk with a mesothelioma attorney who specializes in asbestos cases. They can review your work history and identify potential claims. Second, file for workers' compensation and disability benefits as soon as possible to start receiving financial support. Third, use your protections under FMLA and the Americans with Disabilities Act to secure your job and workplace rights during treatment. Fourth, explore asbestos trust funds and veterans benefits if they apply to your case. And finally, reach out to unions and advocacy groups for guidance and support. Mesothelioma is one of the most serious workplace illnesses, and no one should face it without knowing their rights. From safety laws and workers' compensation to disability benefits, trust funds, and legal claims, there are many options available to help patients and their families. Understanding these rights can make the difference between financial struggle and security, and between fighting alone and having strong support. By standing up for your rights, you not only protect yourself and your family, but also contribute to greater accountability for companies that fail to keep workers safe. If you are facing this diagnosis, remember, you are not powerless. You have rights, you have protections, and you have a path toward justice.